What's the most important lesson you hope your children learn from this experience?
I think it's the appreciation of the beauty of Australia, what we have in this country, the absolute natural phenomenon that we've go past and that we explore. The appreciation of our family. I think we've grown much closer. Flexibility is definitely a big one, as it's not always knowing what we're doing by the time the day starts to what is at the end of the day, and that happens in between. Also, definitely making good memories, which is one of the main things that we want to create, is that when the kids grow up, they can look back.
One of the things that really stands out for me, and I learned this through running expeditions overseas, is the appreciation of what you have at home. It's such a big thing, because we can just go off travelling, and with going travelling for a long period of time, it's much different to going travelling for a short period of time, where you get back to your creature comforts very, very quickly. The other thing is that teaching our children life skills that they just wouldn't have received at home is a big one for us as well.
What sparked the idea to travel around Australia with your 3 kids?
We always were travellers before we had children, and when we had children we sort of stopped for a bit, and one day we were just sitting down and just we're reflecting on our lives and where it was going, and we both made the decision that we really want to keep travelling again, because that's something that we're both interested in and really enjoy.
Well, that's pretty good. Also, the world has got a heap to offer. Why do we want to just sit in one spot and not see what else there is to see? I know Rafiki mentioned that there's good fishing and lots of friends to be made, and I think that's a true reflection of what we've been doing so far and exploring.
And also to give our children an opportunity that they wouldn't have if they were just sitting in one spot.
What's the one piece of advice you'd give to other families dreaming of a similar adventure?
That depends on every family, but what I'd say to every family is, don't overthink it. Just get in the car, pick a direction and start traveling. You will make it. If you're flexible enough, you will make sure that you can do it and that you'll make a success of it. I think planning too much is creating stress, creating uncertainty, creating failure. Just get in the car and go. Pick a direction, pick a town, and say that's where we're going to go for the first night. And from there, you wake up in the morning and you pick your next town for the next day.
I think, even for us as adventurers, like taking that step of, it felt like jumping off a cliff, packing up a house, getting all that organised, packing a car and going, oh, is this going to work? It felt all very scary and overwhelming to start with, but once you get in the car and you get going, you literally drive out the driveway and it's like, okay, we're doing this, so it's just like just doing it and just being with it and allowing yourself, like Johan said, to have some flexibility and not be so rigid. It just lets go of all that fear. And also what I've really noticed too is you don't need, and we did this for so long, oh, we've got to get the caravan, we've got to get the good car, we've got to get all, we've got to have all the right gear. You don't need all the good gear. We've seen people doing it more rustic than us, and we started with, a car and a vintage caravan, and you make it work. You just make it work with whatever you've got.
I think what Melinda said is that part of the anxiety leading up to it is, are you doing the right thing? It's nightmare material, but I think, I'll say this again, get in the car and just go. You'll make it work.
Yeah. And if someone was to ask me, would I do it again? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would do it again. But, the thing is, and this is the fantasy, when you're doing it long term, you're going on the road, you're taking your life on the road. So whatever, your you've got at home, you will take with you. But there is the added experience of having all of these adventures, and there's the added opportunity to grow from it, and also, like I said earlier, really allow yourself to let go and enjoy.
You've now been on the road for a year. Looking back at how has the reality of this adventure differed from your initial expectations, and what's the most significant change you've noticed in yourselves and your family dynamic?
I think when we set off, we had 12 months in mind, and that changed very, very quickly since we got on the road. There is so much to explore, and time, I think if you really want to do a good job of this, shouldn't be of essence. So pretty much early on in our trip, we've decided that we will kind of leave it open-ended and adapt to that. There is time frames that we're working into, but it's definitely not 12 months anymore.
For me, I feel that the journey is so much about trust and being creative, and from the perspective of that it really has, this year has built character and personality in all of us. I feel that probably, to be realistic, it took 6 months for us to unwind, and I think the more that you're uptight in your life, in your lifestyle at home, the more that it takes to actually unravel yourself on the road. And it's such a great experience once you actually do unravel and become more relaxed and allow yourself to really experience and have that sort of zest for life that we can so easily lose when we're in the humdrum at home. That's the main thing that really stands out for me, is that it just gives you that ability to just stop and reflect on what was I doing at home and do I really want to go back to that, and also how would I do it differently when I get home?
If you had to pick one must-do adventure for families travelling Australia, what would it be and why?
Well, in 1 year, we've only done half of Australia. We've still got Western Australia and Victoria and Tasmania still to go.
And most of New South Wales.
And most of New South Wales, but that might be, another little side trip because we live in New South Wales. One of the main things that stands out for me is the Great Barrier Reef. That was just a really positive experience for all of us. Everyone from teenage to young child was really catered for in that experience. But one in particular, so we went on 2 trips, but the one in particular that stood out for me was when we went out with a friend who just randomly took us out in a boat and took us to this beautiful sand island filled with birds, and you could just basically jump off the boat straight onto the reef. It was really stunning, and I feel like those experiences, the experiences that you're not expecting, are the ones that are really treasured. Over to you.
I also think that is a highlight, but there's plenty of other highlights that sits on par with that. The old Telegraph track heading up to Cape York was an adventure that spanned over multiple days. We hooked up with a really good group of people, and we all traveled together. I think that experience was a very big highlight for us all as well. There is, like in New South Wales and Queensland, we did a lot of waterfall hopping, and then continued with that into the Northern Territory, which sits in par with that. Rafiki and myself in particularly enjoyed heaps of fishing opportunities. And now down in South Australia, it's gone from fishing to squidding and catching a lot of food fast that we've consumed over the trip, which makes it a more affordable option. So yeah, that's a couple of things that's definitely playing on in par. So it's difficult to choose just one specific activity or experience that we've had, but I think there's a couple that sits on par with one another, and that's only kind of nearly a third to half of what we've travelled so far.
How has your experience as adventure guides influenced your approach to this family trip?
I think overall the ability to do dynamic risk assessments makes a massive difference in how we approach our day-to-day going out exploring, especially when it gets to a bit more risky adventures. It definitely changed the perspective if you were doing it on your own in comparison with the family. My background, having worked in environment most of my time, being able to fulfill that and just make quick calls that works. And with Melinda's background in expedition leading and nursing and everything else, I think it's definitely contributed pretty well. Over to you. We can go into the details which you normally run.
So I feel like navigation, like we've been able to go on tracks and navigate areas that most people wouldn't be able to, just because we've had the map reading skills, but also the technology to do that. Being able to read water, being able to read tides, weather, all of those kinds of smaller things make, well, they're big things, but smaller things make a big difference when it comes to being able to navigate areas that a lot of people just wouldn't go to. And we've been out in some sort of crazy weather, but being able to read it and being able to maintain a level of safety. So that's given us as a family and the children the experience of sort of being on that edge of risk, but also knowing how to be safe as well.
Living on the edge but making it successful.
What are some of the skills you have gained as a guide that are proving invaluable on this trip?
I think a big one, and this could relate to other fields of experience as well, but the big one is that we are so used to being able to just make small talk with people and communicate with people no matter what sort of situation we're in. So we're often going up to people and making small chat, and then as a result of having that skill, we're able to turn that into an adventure, because we end up making friends, or we end up traveling together, or we end up going out on a boat together, whatever it may be. It's turned into an adventure. So for example, the other day there was a conversation with some kids about crabbing, and the dad and the son had never been crabbing before, and the next thing they're going crabbing with Johan and Rafiki. So yeah, there's that. I feel like we both lean on that a lot, and it feels like that has transpired to our children too. Our children have an amazing ability to go up and make conversation and make friends in most places that we go.
I think from the first day I started working in tourism in Africa, you just had to culture that ability to go out there and engage, and I think I've kept that throughout my whole career and through life. In a private situation, just being able to walk up to somebody and start a conversation, even if it's just a hi, where are you from, what are you doing, to having meaningful campfires and bigger discussions around it. I think Rafiki and Ma and Sunny in a sense as well, as all picked up on that, and they can, as Melinda said, just become the life of a party in a sense. We had a comment 3 days ago at Palubi Beach where people came up and said, geez, this is pretty good. This looks like where the life of the beach is at the moment, because the kids has been playing for 3 days. People has come and people has gone, and everybody has just migrated and played at this site. So I think that's definitely, from a guiding perspective, something that we value as well as brought over to our kids, and I think it's a good thing for us to keep on doing.